Yeah, good morning and welcome. My name is Gunnar Petras and I am the owner of Butchery Ranch. I want to take a moment and introduce to you the new concept of crowd butchering, which is relatively new in Arizona. I believe I even might be the first. So when I was traveling just recently in the Netherlands, I came about the concept of crowd butchering. And what is actually crowd butchering? Crowd butchering is people sell a cow via the internet. So the way it works is like, the cow gets processed from nose to tail and packaged into 25, 30 packages, yeah? And then people go on and buy these packages. These packages typically contain everything from steak over ground beef up to soup bones. And once the cow or steer is sold, it gets processed, so there's not slaughtering or butchering involved up front, but basically, literally, when it's sold, it actually gets processed. So I tried this in the Netherlands and I was surprised about a couple of two things. The first thing was the taste. The taste was absolutely fantastic. The second thing was it was actually relatively comparable to the price where you would buy meat at a grocery store. So I was thinking, wow, that's awesome. So when I came back to Arizona, which is my home state for over 18 years now, I try to find an offering like that. And well, as we say, if the mountain is not coming to the prophet comes to the mountain. I couldn't really find anything, so I created Butchery Ranch. And with Butchery Ranch, you actually have the knowledge where your beef is coming from, because every cattle has an ear tag. This ear tag will be part of the processing or butchering process, and also will be on the package you're getting, as well as on the piece of meat, the wrapping of the piece of meat. So you know exactly what cow, where it's coming from. And all of my cattle is actually coming from Arizona. They're bred in Arizona, they're fed in Arizona, and we're actually eating them in Arizona. So why can I offer that to a price point which is comparable to a normal grocery store? It's very simple. It comes farmer, my place, processing plant, to you. So it's literally, there's no middleman involved, And the other thing which is very, very dear to my heart is, how is cattle raised? So if you look at my logo, I'm saying Butchery Ranch, raising cattle with dignity, So all the cattle you are ordering for me is open range, grass-fed, no antibiotics, and has been humanely raised and ethically treated. So you will not see any cattle prod, either at my ranchers, nor at my place, nowhere, yeah? So the worst thing we do is use a pedal, which is kind of a plastic device, which is funny coloring, and then we hurt the cattle. So if you think about that, so it's around my motto. My motto is basically, eat better but less, and if you care about the planet, you might want to consider, buy at butcheryranch.com. Why did I become a rancher? I guess I wanted to make a difference. When I look at today's world, a lot of the raising, not all, but a lot of it is basically industrialized. So the whole process is industrialized. And I still believe in the olden ways of raising cattle. They need to be on the open range. Then you feed them 45 to 60 days in a more corral-based environment, then obviously where they have more food until they are ready to be processed. And it's also the lifestyle and the people you're dealing with. It's just very honest people. I have a big love for animals. I was a cattle fan my whole life. I guess in a nutshell, that's why I became a rancher. I just wanted to make a difference and make the world a little bit a better place, at least in my limited abilities. Ethical ranching, a lot of people ask me, what's ethical ranching? For me, it's basically you raise animals, in like the old way. So they are with your mommies, until they are natural don't need their milk anymore, so they are not weaning anymore. And you let them range with their normal social group on the range, before you basically take them in. And when you take them in, you take them in a nice setting, in a nice environment, not like some industrial style corrals, and feed them with a food which is very not cow-like to them. They get here fed alfalfa hay at my place. Of course I put a little bit of beet pulp and oat groats or stuff like this, but the majority is, their whole life they were grass fed. 25-30 pounds a day is grass hay, and maybe 2 pounds is like, oat groats, but there's literally nothing in it, which you and me wouldn't eat, and I think that's the right way to raise them. You hear sometimes stories in the news, where they get injected antibiotics, that they gain more weight. They eat like, processed meat and fat, and I'm like, whoa, I don't really want to put this in my mouth. So that's basically the reason why I do what I do. What does it mean, crowd butchering and to buy into a cow? So in essence, I'm processing a cow nose to tail. There's no waste. Everything gets used. Absolutely everything gets used. So what it does is basically when you buy into, you're buying a share, So a typical cow gives depending on the weight, between 25 to 30 packages. So you basically buy 1/25 to 1/32 of a cow, yeah? And when it is sold, then it only gets processed. So until then it's in their natural environment, with their normal social group, and it enjoys a good life. That really takes the stress out for the animals, So I want to take a second or so to talk about my offerings, So as I mentioned earlier on, I am processing a cow, or steer better, from nose to tail into packages. Now if you think about porterhouse steak or T-bone steak or ribeye steak, the steaks are the smallest part of the steer, of the animal, So typical, you get maybe 4 to 6, 8 cuts out of a porterhouse, out of a big animal, so obviously I cannot put it in a package. So what I'm doing is basically I have a starter pack, it's like 7.5, 8 pounds of meat, which gets some flank steak, some briskets, stew meat, burger, soup bones. Then I'd get a bigger pack, around 16 to 18. And why do I give you ranges? The thing is, I have artisan butchers cutting this by hand, so there's a slight variation, yeah. So the variation will always be in your favor, trust me. If you buy the 15, it's most probably 15.5, So, but the point I'm making, this basically has more like steaks, more the flank steaks, this type of stuff. And then the third offering is kind of a la carte, where I offer basically T-bone, rib eye, this type of very limited cuts per animal, And so in a nutshell, you have 3 offerings: a starter pack, like a steak or family pack, and then you have like the premium a la carte choices, you can order from my website. But the good news about this, the animal gets processed nose to tail, and only when it's sold, it is local, it's Arizona bred and fed, no antibiotics, it's just really, really high-end meat. I always strive for prime or choice at the least. Everything else you will not get at my website. So why do I only, sell my beef within Arizona? There's a big reason, actually a lot of reasons for it. The first one is, for me, number one, I know the ranchers and I know the cattle. I'm procuring from. So I know these are healthy animals, and I can put my name behind it, that what you are ordering is a healthy, ethically raised animal. The other thing is, of course, I care deeply about the planet. So for me, having a cow of unknown origin imported for Argentina or Brazil, slaughtered God knows where, and I don't know what I have actually on my plate. I don't know if there's any antibiotics. I don't know if they have been basically fed, with corn all their life. I don't know if some other medication is in this. our cattle literally, gets between the age to 2 to 4 months, gets only, one shot. It's called a Barvac 7. It's a 7-shot booster. No antibiotics. You need to have it because otherwise on the range you can get the disease. The other thing is, of course, newborn delivery, So some of the cattle is literally 12 miles away from me. The processing plant is 30 miles away from me. So the cattle literally in her whole life gets transported 45 miles. Pretty damn good for the environment, I would say. And the other thing is, the freshness, of course, of the meat, So I age the meat at least 2 weeks, sometimes longer. Yeah. So what you're getting, you will not see that your steak all of a sudden shrinks to half the size because there's a lot of water in it. What you see is what you get. You put it in, it will have the same size. I tell you that one. Yeah. And of course, we deliver to your doorstep. So we have a courier which literally takes it out of the cooling facility, after it has been butchered at the processing plant, and brings it to your work, to your home, at the time you want it. So it's all very convenient.